I shouldn't be telling you this, but once you know, you'll never look at Netflix the same way again. Imagine scrolling late at night, bored, half asleep, when suddenly a movie thumbnail flashes onto your screen. Something you swear wasn't there a second ago. A title you've never heard of, a description that feels wrong, and a preview that glitches like it's hiding something. You click it because curiosity wins, and the film begins with footage so raw, so disturbing that it feels less like fiction and more like a leaked recording never meant to be seen. And then, as your pulse quickens and your breath shortens, the movie freezes and disappears from the catalog completely, as if it never existed. That's what happened to me, and I wish I had looked away. I wasn't even searching for horror that night. It was one of those weeks where the hours blur, work drags, and you try to trick your brain into relaxing by zoning out to something forgettable. I logged into my account, planning to rewatch a comedy I'd seen 100 times, but my eyes snagged on a flickering thumbnail buried between rows of cheap knockoff movies. The image was strange, a dimly lit basement, a chair in the center, and what looked like duct tape coiled neatly on the floor. No actors' names, no star rating, just the word "The Blue Room" written in plain white text. It shouldn't have caught my attention, but it did dot at first. I thought maybe it was one of those low-budget indie horrors Netflix buys just to pad their library, but the description didn't read like any other. It said, "Some truths can't be streamed. Viewer, discretion advised." No plot, no runtime, nothing else. Just that line. I remember hovering over it, my thumb sweaty on the remote. Something in me screamed not to click, like when you know a door shouldn't be opened, but your hand reaches for the knob anyway. The movie began without the usual Netflix loading sound, no red splash logo, just darkness, and then faint audio, like someone breathing too close to a microphone. The image slowly appeared, a shaky handheld camera moving through a cluttered kitchen, the kind that looks lived in but wrong. Dirty dishes fossilized in the sink, a fridge humming too loudly. The camera lingered on the counter where a half-empty glass of milk sat beside a knife. My stomach twisted. It wasn't staged. It looked like someone's actual kitchen. I tried backing out, but the remote wasn't responding. The movie kept going. A man entered the frame, but only from the neck down. He wore faded jeans and a stained t-shirt, his hands trembling as he adjusted the camera. Then he spoke in a low voice, almost a whisper. "If you're watching this, it's already too late." I laughed nervously at first. It had to be some kind of a RG, right? A viral marketing stunt. But then the man pulled open a door in the back of the kitchen and walked into a hallway. The camera followed, swaying with his uneven steps. Every light bulb was dim, buzzing faintly. He stopped at a locked door, pulled a ring of keys from his pocket, and began trying each one. My chest tightened with every failed attempt. Finally, the lock clicked, the door creaked open, and that's when I saw the basement from the thumbnail dot. It wasn't fake. The chair was real. The duct tape was real. And in the far corner, barely visible, was something moving, something alive. I froze. My brain screamed to shut it off, but my hands wouldn't obey. The man approached the corner, and the camera captured a figure hunched against the wall, a woman, her wrists bound, her eyes darting to the lens as if begging me to do something. She whispered, hoarse and desperate, "Don't let them show this." That was when the screen glitched. The image fractured into blocks of static, the sound warped into high-pitched screeches. For a moment, I thought my TV was breaking. Then, the Netflix app just closed itself. I was back on the home screen, and the Blue Room gone, completely vanished from every row. I searched for it, checked my recently viewed list, even Googled it. Nothing. It was like the film had been erased in real time. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the house felt amplified. I kept seeing the woman's face, her lips forming words I couldn't unhear. The next day, I told myself it was a glitch, maybe some unfinished upload Netflix accidentally pushed live. But deep down, I knew better. Because when I checked again that morning, my continue watching row was empty. Every single title I had been in the middle of gone. And there was a new notification waiting at the top. Thanks for streaming with us. For best results, avoid unauthorized content. Unauthorized content? What the hell did that mean? I tried. Asking online. I posted about it in a horror subreddit, describing what I'd seen, even sketching the thumbnail. Within minutes, my post was removed. The mod's note was blunt. Do not discuss the blue room here again. When I messaged him privately, he just replied with a single sentence, "They're watching." That was when I realized this wasn't just a movie or even a glitch. It was something bigger. Something Netflix didn't want us to see, but I couldn't let it go. I dug deeper, searching on forums, hidden Wikis, anywhere fringe enough to keep whispers alive. That's when I stumbled on a thread titled, "Netflix Red Listings Do Not Click." Buried within it were dozens of similar accounts. People describing films that appeared for a few minutes, then vanished forever. Always with strange titles: The Blue Room, Static Faces, Exit Code. Each one described as if it was less like a movie and more like evidence, a warning, a confession. One post chilled me to my core. It read, "I saw The Blue Room in 2019. It ruined my life. Don't chase it. They'll make sure you regret it. I should have stopped right there. But you know how it is. The more forbidden something feels, the more it hooks you." I had to know. I had to see if I was the only one, or if this was part of something much darker than we realized. That's when I found the email dot. It wasn't on any public forum. It was buried inside the HTML of an archive page, like someone had hidden it for desperate seekers. The text simply said, "If you want the truth about the Blue Room, write to us. But be warned, it can't be unseen." And beneath it, an address. I should have closed the laptop. Should have gone outside, breathed fresh air, and convinced myself it was just creepypasta bleeding into real life. Instead, I drafted an email with shaking hands. I told them what I'd seen, begged for an explanation, and hit send. The reply came within 5 minutes dot. It wasn't text. It was a video attachment. I hesitated, heart pounding, mouse hovering over the play button. But some sick part of me, the same part that clicked that cursed thumbnail in the first place, made me open it. The video began with static. Then a distorted voice spoke through the fuzz, calm and deliberate. "If you're receiving this, then the Blue Room has chosen you. Don't tell anyone. Don't search further. Watch carefully." The static cleared, and I found myself staring into that same basement again. Same chair, same duct tape. But this time, the woman was gone, and the chair was facing the camera, waiting. The chair was no longer empty dot at first. I thought it was just a trick of the light, but then the shape became clear. A man, bound and gagged, thrashing weakly as if every movement drained what little strength he had left. His eyes, wide and bloodshot, darted straight into the camera. Straight at me. The voice from before returned, this time even clearer. "Do not look away." This is what happens when curiosity goes too far. I slammed the laptop shut so hard. I thought I cracked the screen. My hands were shaking, sweat dripping down my temples, and for a long time, I just sat there in silence, trying to convince myself I hadn't really seen it. But when I finally opened the laptop again, the video file was gone, not in downloads, not in temp files, wiped completely clean, like it had never existed. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Still curious, I didn't respond. Instead, I turned the phone off and left it face down on the table. But that didn't help, because a few minutes later, the TV in my living room powered on by itself, Netflix app open, cursor hovering over an empty space, like a slot for a movie that wasn't there anymore. My heart raced and I pulled the plug straight out of the wall. I thought I was safe after that, but then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In the reflection of the blank TV screen behind me, a chair. I spun around, but there was nothing there, just my quiet, messy apartment. I laughed nervously to myself, convincing my brain it was just paranoia. But when I went to bed, the dreams began. In them, I was the one strapped to the chair. Every night, the same sequence. I'd wake in that basement, duct tape biting into my skin, unable to scream. The camera stared into my face while a voice whispered things I couldn't repeat, words that felt ancient wrong, like they weren't meant for human ears. I'd jolt awake, drenched in sweat, the words echoing in my skull like a curse. By the fifth night, I was afraid to sleep at all. That's when I noticed the changes, small at first. My Netflix recommendations started showing movies I'd never watched before. Titles I didn't recognize, The Final Tape, The Watcher's Cut, Do Not Disturb. They weren't clickable, just grayed out thumbnails haunting my home screen. And under each one was the same tagline, Some truths can't be streamed. I thought maybe I'd been hacked. I reached out to a friend who worked in tech support, someone who knew how to dig deeper. I'll never forget the look on his face when I showed him my account. He went pale, muttered something about red flagged accounts, and told me to change my passwords immediately. But when I asked him to explain, he shook his head and said, "Don't drag me into this. Trust me. Just stop watching." Stop watching? But how could I? Every warning, every glitch, every disappearance only pulled me deeper. I had to know the truth. And the truth came in the form of another email, this one with no subject, no sender, just a single attachment, a PDF. The file was a list. Page after page of movie titles, none of which I'd ever heard of. Some sounded like obscure horror flicks. Others read like crime documentaries, and beside each title was a date and a name. Hundreds of names. Maybe thousands. And then I saw mine. Next to The Blue Room. Dated the very night I watched it. My stomach dropped, and I almost threw up on my keyboard. What the hell did it mean? Was I on some kind of list now? I scrolled faster, desperate, horrified. Some of the names had notes beside them, deceased, missing, untraceable. Others had nothing at all, just the cold certainty of being logged. That's when I realized these weren't movies. They were recordings, evidence. Every title was tied to someone real. And now I was one of them. I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days after that. Every knock at the door, every creak in the hallway sent me into a panic. I barely ate, barely moved. Just sat staring at my blank TV screen, waiting for it to flicker back to life. And when it finally did, I almost wished it hadn't. The Blue Room was back, not on the main screen, not in search results. Just playing automatically, without my consent. And this time, it was me in the chair. My own face, pale and hollow, bound and gagged, staring into the camera with terror I didn't remember ever feeling. I clawed at the remote, trying to shut it off, but nothing worked. The TV burned bright, filling the room with that horrific scene. Then the distorted voice returned, speaking directly to me through the speakers. "You belong to us now. Do not resist," I screamed, hurled the remote across the room, pulled every plug from the wall. The screen went black, but I could still see the afterimage of my own face burned into my vision. The next morning, I smashed the TV, dragged it outside, left it on the curb like rotting garbage. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. But as I sat at my laptop later that night, I noticed something that made my blood freeze all over again. The reflection in the dark screen wasn't mine, Dot. It was the man in the stained t shirt, standing right behind me.